Sige, sir. Will you start admitting na lang?
Okay, I'll start admitting.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar this afternoon on revitalizing food systems. We will start. We're waiting for a few more participants, so we'll start in a couple of minutes. No? So thank you for your patience, no, in waiting. And hopefully, no, we'll be able to start soon. So thank you. Again, good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Thank you for your patience. Just waiting for several more participants. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, everyone. We're just waiting for a few participants, so we'll start in a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. We have muted you all in order to respect the sanctity of the proceedings, but later, towards the end of the webinar, we'll be able to be able to allow people to say their greetings. But for the meantime, we've muted. If you just want to chat with us, please post them in the chat. So thank you. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can already start. It's 3:05 in my computer clock, so I guess we can already start. Welcome to the online webinar on revitalizing food systems, generating value with producers, markets, and consumers, and the cooperative experiences. As we all are aware, the current COVID pandemic has reached crisis proportions and has impacted millions of Filipinos in terms of access to food, jobs, and livelihood. Unprecedented and major efforts have been made by civil society to the academe, NGOs, faith-based organizations, and many others so that in more marginalized situations are able to access food even before the pandemic struck. Studies from the Philippine government's Food and Nutrition Research Institute have indicated that about 30% of Filipino children are unlisted, and this will have an impact on the future generations of our country, men and women. Thus, the importance of highlighting the important role of food production, much needed, especially as the country has to increase its food supply to support the current and future generations. We are very fortunate to have this afternoon very distinguished speakers who will discuss the experience of cooperatives and producers in revitalizing systems in the country. This event is being organized by the Ateneo de Davao University, the Ateneo de Manila University, the Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, in coordination with the Philippine chapter of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, a network of universities and research organizations which have focused on finding solutions to many socioeconomic development issues around the world. It is our hope that the organization of this webinar and the webinars that we have undertaken in the past, which involve various stakeholders, students, and their learning programs and their organizations, our outreach to communities and others in the course of our social development and social action work, and local solutions to address the local long-term problems of food sustainability, especially when food producers can be found. We hope that you will find this webinar very interesting for you and hope that you can also attend our future webinars. Some event guidelines and reminders. First, the event is being streamed via YouTube through a link shown in the slide. We are therefore recording the proceedings of the event and we hope that this is okay for the participants. Second, the participants are muted automatically as they enter the meeting room. Please type any comments or questions at the chat box. Conversations among participants are disabled, but you may give it also to the main host of the event. Third, there will be an evaluation survey of the session found at the slide that will be shown. The link will also be sent in the comments box at the end of the session. And certificates of attendance for those who will be requiring it will be provided to those who answer this forum. And now for our opening prayer, let's listen to this opening song.
Simoy ng bukid at hamog sa linang, lunti ang paligid ang aking kinagisnan. Mahal na magulang at mga anak ko, dito isinilang sa lupang ito. Sa init na labis at salat na ulan, dinilig ko ng pawis ang lupang tigang. Binhi ay sumibol, nagusbong naguhay, nagbunga at bumuhay ng maraming buhay. Ngunit dumating ang araw, ang lupa'y naagaw at nasiil ng mga dayuhat panyagang may mahiwagang dokumentong papel. Ang aking paniwala magmula pa noon, iba sa panukala na nakasulat Doon ang sinabi ng pari ay di raw totoo, na Diyos ang may-ari ng lupang ito. Sa aking bulong at sigaw, tangis at hiyaw ay walang nakinig. Ngunit sa kataas-taasan, ang katotohanan kailan may dilingig. Ang Diyos ng pag-ibig at kapayapaan, Diyos din na hukom, Diyos ng katarungan. Babalik na ang hari, magsusulit kayo sa tunay na may-ari ng lupang ito.
Thank you very much. We will now hear an opening message that will be given by Mr. Edgardo Valenzuela, Professor of the Ateneo School of Government of the Ateneo de Manila University. Edgar, or Elval, has over 40 years of development experience at national, regional, and international levels. He has worked with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations for almost 25 years, where he retired as Chief of World Food Day Global Coordinating Outreach and Advocacy Activities Unit in the Office for Corporate Communications and External Relations. Previous to this, he was Executive Director of the Asian Ecolib from 1983 to 1990 and worked on issues related to agrarian reform and sustainable rural development. He has done consultancies for various international agencies such as CIRDAP, NESCAP, ADB, and the World Bank. Ed has an international MBA degree from the European School of Economics and is a graduate of the Program of Development of the Asian Institute of Management. He is a core faculty of the Ateneo University School of Government and a core resource person for the School of Government's education training, the Overseas Filipino Leadership, Innovation, Social Literacy, and Social Entrepreneurship program since 2008, where 1,000 graduates in Italy, Hong Kong, the UAE, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Macau, Singapore, and many other countries have graduated. In 2013, Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan conferred Father William Masterson Award work on development issues. In 2015, the Manila Standard conferred a visionary for social entrepreneurship for training of OFWs globally. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ed Valenzuela.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Randy, for that introduction. I'm very happy that we've been able to host this particular webinar, as it brings together old friends and institutions that have been working hand in hand in sustainable development. In a way, our focus really is SDG 2, which is the zero hunger, which really is the last run to 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. This week also, if most of you are aware, also celebrates the 40th anniversary of the World Food Day, which was established on 16 October 1981 by FAO. So this is also a landmark event, and we really timed this webinar for this activity. Secondly, some of you will also remember that 2 weeks ago at the United Nations in New York, in the context when the General Assembly opened, one day was dedicated to food systems. The Food Systems Summit was held, which is really the impetus for this series of seminars that Randy had introduced earlier. As we started organizing since last April, the first ever pre-summit dialogue, if you like, here in the Philippines. Um, Now, for this webinar, we would like to look at it from various angles. But one thing I would like to bring to your attention is this issue of value chain and cooperatives. And really, if we look at it from a value chain approach, we're really talking of the linkage, of a systems approach, looking at production, post-production, logistics and distribution, marketing and consumption. And all these areas are areas which can be useful for small producers and farmers, to help them obtain better access to markets. Those of you who work with farmers realize the importance of being able to have a market, because we cannot just look at it from the production end, because if it cannot be consumed, it's going to be wasted. We remember some of the imagery in social media at the early part of the lockdown when there was a problem in transporting farm produce to markets, and there was a way which resulted in waste, and that has really been acknowledged and hopefully addressed. Anyway, we can see also that in spite of the lockdown, there has been growing consumer demand, and growing consumer market, especially for healthy and nutritious foods, because we have to improve our immune system so that we are able to resist and fight whatever viruses and bacteria that is around us. So it is very important that we are able to service this need of consumers. Secondly, if we look at it from the point of view of cooperatives, we also have this aspect of economies of scale, which is equally important, because this is where we can lead to more efficiencies by working together, and also to be able to lower costs down the line. Third, if we work together as co-ops inside the value chain framework, this can also help to lend to increasing food safety. We should not underestimate the importance of food safety, because I always say, if it's not safe, it's not food. So food security and food safety and nutritious food should go hand in hand. We cannot have one without the other. So that is an important aspect. And then also, we should not forget the planet. So we are saying this can also be done from a framework of environmentally sustainable and climate-friendly production, meaning we should find ways to be able to diversify ways of being able to cure our vegetables. There are ways of also doing it organically, or minimizing fertilizer, chemical use, and so on. The vision, I think, for me is for cooperatives to become the leading suppliers of safe, nutritious, and environmentally food produce. And this safe food for all is critical, since it translates to people having access to safe, nutritious, and quality food. Co-op leaders here already harness a considerable strength, and you will see that in their presentations. And this could lead, in fact, to even more investments in agricultural value chains. We should also see the need for strategic networking and encouraging stakeholder involvement. And also, this way, if we are able to shorten the length of agricultural value chains, that means the food will be fresher and the farmers will be happier, as they'll get their money back faster also. So we have to see how we can improve productivity of what already works, which is already on the ground, to increase efficiency. At the same time, issues or problems or challenges, we should address the weak links along that value chain. And here, maybe we have to look at improving synergy with each other. And in this way, we should also be able to align with other food system components. So I'd like to leave you with these thoughts on the value chain framework, so that then we can now listen to our presenters. We look forward to a live and stimulating presentation and discussions in this webinar. with our very experienced panelists. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ed, for giving the context forum. No, what you said, no, is very much important. No, is actually and the advantages, no, of actually undertaking food production through cooperatives. No? So I guess that will be sort of the framework our speakers also will be using, no, in actually addressing this issue of looking at how we can sustain, no, food production, no, in a cooperative way. So again, we are pleased to now introduce the 4 experienced speakers this afternoon, and each will be given 15 minutes for their presentation on the topic of how do we actually generate value, with producers, markets, and consumers. Let me just introduce each one before they speak so that we can go directly to their presentation. For our first speaker this afternoon, the first presenter actually will be Dr. Anselmo Mercado. Boy, as he's fondly called, has been a rural social development practitioner, doing various roles as teacher, extension worker, administrator of certain units and programs at the Agricultural College of Xavier University, where he worked for more than 44 years from 1960 to 2007. Promoting and organizing cooperatives was among his most significant tasks. Since 1968 and until the present, he has been actively involved as a volunteer in the cooperative movement and has served various leadership positions in several cooperatives in Cagayan de Oro, where he is based. He's a member of the first Community Credit Cooperative, or FICO. He was formerly its chairperson from 1991 to 1993. He's a member of Xavier University Community Credit Cooperative until at present. He's also a member of the Xavier University Community Cooperative, the president of the Co-op Business Institute, the chairperson of Co-op Council of Cagayan de Oro, the chairperson of the Study and Steering Committee to Organize System and Services Co-op, and chairperson of the Co-op Development Advisory Cagayan de Oro City. So as you see from, or as you heard, from his background, so his whole life has been really devoted to cooperatives. So without further ado, let me also ask Dr. Boy Mercado to speak. So good afternoon, Dr. Boy.
Yeah, salamat. Thank you very much, Randy, and good introduction, and also to Ed for your appropriate introduction to this webinar today. Let me now ask Joaquin to, let's see, let me share my screen. Okay, here it is. Is it show now? Is it okay?
Yes, we can see it, your screen now.
Okay.
Boy, you might, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Maybe in the presenter, maybe you can increase the size of the.
Yeah. Okay.
The page. Maybe
okay.
You can. Is it possible still to increase the? Okay, so there, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is it?
Okay, you can. Yeah, I think you can start now.
I can start.
Yeah.
Okay. Greetings from Cagayan de Oro. Kumusta kami tanan? My pleasure to meet you here in our webinar this afternoon. The outline of my talk this afternoon, I'll start with a brief introduction on poverty and also some development models. And then I'll go to the meat of this talk. I'll talk about the FICO story, the first community cooperative story, from its very beginnings, the roots, and how it branched out, and the fruits. And I'll talk a little bit of why cooperatives and the cooperative ideology, and then I'll go to the conclusion, saying basically that we need to establish a good, balanced, mixed society, like life in a forest. All right, let's go to the introduction, very brief. I've known poverty since my school days, since the 1960s. And during that time, I learned from Dr. Juan Xavier and the PRRM, Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement, the analysis of poverty, vicious cycle of poverty, economic ignorance, poor health, and civic inertia, all interlocking. And according to Xavier, cannot be solved if we deal with it separately. And all aspects really are interdependent as they affect each other. And down, another analysis of the same problem, you have poverty and the causes. And you can see there the triangle, the top, the middle, and the majority poor. So poverty, not really the overriding problem, but the cause of it. Unjust social structure, the maldistribution of wealth and resources, the widening gap of the rich and the poor. And according to Father de la Costa, during his time also, he looked at this poverty situation and he said there are causes, external causes, the socio-economic political structure, called it a bondage, external bondage, and the internal bondage as well, a feeling of hopelessness of people, helplessness. And of course, there's the spiritual aspect, spiritual bondage, a lot of dishonesties, graft and corruption. And another father, Jesuit father, I think Father Bulatao called it split level Christianity in faith and practice. And a more recent analysis of the problem, the same problems, you have poverty, population growth also comes into the picture, and of course the environmental deterioration. And I think the Bishops' Conference of the Philippines produced a paper some time ago, what is happening to our beautiful land. So this poverty still looms large today. Since the time that I learned it in the 60s, today, the same. At that time, economic development was the development formula, emphasizing economic growth. And the benefits were supposed to trickle down to the masses and rural areas. The main measure of development was GNP. And the critics labeled it as top-down model. There was a shift of this development formula, inspired by Pope Paul VI, Populorum Progressio in 1967. And that had a global impact, ushering in the human development model. He said, development cannot be limited to mere economic growth. To be authentic, it must be complete, integral, to promote the good of every man and the whole man. Groups of men, the whole of humanity. We do not believe in separating the economic from the human. So this human development model aims for equity, social justice, people participation, more equitable access to resources by people, more equitable distribution of fruits of production. And this particular model is now the bottom-up, the grassroots approach. The purpose of development in this particular approach or model is to liberate people from every condition which prevents them from becoming as fully developed as possible, morally, intellectually, socially, politically, and economically. In the words of Pope Paul VI, to help people to seek more, to know more, to have more, in order to be more. And now let me go to the meat of this presentation, go to the cooperative tree. There are roots, there are branches, and the fruits. Cooperativism, that cooperative tree, is really a cooperative movement. It is an A, B, C, D plus E approach. What does it mean? It means asset-based community development plus empowerment, a very positive model empowering, mastering people's resources, not to harp on negative, traditional, problem-oriented approach. So the cooperative has three dimensions: the union of people, and you have the principles there of equality of members, democratic control, non-racial, non-political, religious neutrality. And the second dimension is the business enterprise. People, this union of people must go into some kind of business that they need. So that sort of creates some wealth, profits in a sense, but these profits are distributed back, given back to the members in terms of dividends and patronage refunds. So the cooperative principles really transcend profit motive to service. So the taproot of this union of people in the cooperative tree is really self-help of the members, the mutual help, brotherhood, that's why it's called brotherhood economics, one for all for one. And then the ABCD, of course, the pooling and mustering of resources coming from the members. And of course, this very basic value of trust and confidence in their organization. So if we take care of the roots, we get the fruits. And indeed, the cooperative tree with its roots, the philosophy, the principles, the values, character, with good management and member education, produce the fruits, quality services and products. The productivity of the cooperatives, of the members as well, the economic benefits that they get, and member empowerment. Take care of the roots, you get the fruits. The cooperative tree in Cagayan de Oro, or Northern Mindanao for that matter, was sown by Father William Masterson. He is known as the father of the cooperative movement in Mindanao. What he started was just a small school credit union, the Ateneo credit union. They learned the cooperative way, brotherhood economics. And eventually this small Ateneo credit union opened up to the community, bigger community in the early 70s, and now has become the first community cooperative, FICO. So the seed of cooperativism germinated from this particular seed and growing, yielding much fruits. You can see here a picture of the pioneers way back in the early 50s. So today, well, FICO has branches all over, 55 branches, and business centers in Mindanao, some in Visayas, a few in Luzon. And in 2014, FICO celebrated the Diamond Jubilee. These are some pictures of the main building, the first main building that FICO constructed in Cagayan de Oro in 1970s. You can see there a lot of members transacting their businesses. FICO today, or the year 2020, has already 395,621 members and still growing. A lot of them are really young people, no? From 18 to 40 in age, 72%. The FICO membership profile is a varied profile. Entrepreneurs, business people, private employees, government, teachers, housewives, farmers, fisher folks, drivers, mechanics, professionals, retirees, laborers. The first community has total assets as of 2020, 15.7 billion pesos, shares 6.4 billion, Total deposit 6.5 billion. All owned, pooled by members, shared. No subsidies, no grants, no external loans whatsoever. We get some partners sometimes, but they are not grants. The cooperative tree really has grown, and we're now starting to branch out with the farmers, getting them involved. And you can see here just one branch having a general assembly. It's very impressive to see people like that. The year 2020, just 1 year, the gross income of FICO was 1.6 billion. And out of that, 76 million, the net income was 83 million, 58 million or 76% went back to the members, dividends and patronage refunds. This money is not small. 55 branches now with 523 employees. And FICO started the foundation sometime several years ago. And with the funds of the foundation, just in the year 2020, we were able to help students and scholarships, calamities, social enterprises support, education and trainings, community development, and various assistances. The FICO Mutual Aid Fund is also very helpful to the members in terms of their health, hospitalization, death aid, healthcare, protection plans for their savings and loans. So here are some pictures. This is one branch along the corridor of Iligan and Cagayan de Oro. This is the Alubihid branch. Now let's go to what Ed was talking about in the introduction, value chain projects, building a fair food system, linking farmers and consumers. What has FICO done along this line? In the 1990s, FICO started something in a branch. They went reaching out to the farmers, letting them avail of savings and production loans. And then in 2012, FICO started the purchasing of palay from farmer members. But at that time, they did not have the facilities. The palay were brought to the commercial rice mills for drying and milling. And then after they were milled, they were sold to the FICO members in the FICO branches. That's the value chain that Ed was talking about. But there were some realities about this. Farmers at the mercy of commercial-owned palay processing facilities, unfriendly rates, quality of milled rice not very consistent, resulting in many sales returns, bad orders, and unhappy farmers and also consumers. So FICO started to do something more substantial. And they constructed the 113 million rice processing center. Rice mill, solar dryer, mechanical dryer, warehouse, equipment, forklift, mini truck. They invested in this. And so, here are some pictures of that. This is in Maranding, Lanao del Norte, sorry, del Sur. There are some pictures, facilities. The trucks, the forklift. And now FICO is into other products, farm products, vegetables, fruits, even duck eggs hatchery, trying to help farmers to get into ducks also so that they can increase their income. And FICO is also trying to reach out to the Lumad IPs. And we have a partner now in Bukidnon, Italaandig, Lumad, Mi Arayon, Lapok, Lirungan, Tinaytayan Tribal Association. FICO is trying to help them improve their farm systems and production and marketing. Other agricultural projects are on the pipeline for FICO. Like, for example, I think this plant culture laboratory and plant seedlings production facility is on its way to being constructed. And then we are also, FICO is also thinking, or not just thinking, but really seriously talking with the provincial government on the coconut and cocoa products processing plant. They will invest something like 300 million pesos for this. Of course,
Sorry, Sir Boy, you
Yes.
have a couple of minutes.
Okay,
only.
okay,
So I just
okay.
wanted to keep the time. Thank you.
Okay, so that is the way the FICO is going to proceed into the agricultural sector. So we get agriculture moving. We try to bridge the farmers and consumers. And then another project of FICO is really very important, the too big, essential in life. So we're also helping in establishing this water services systems. And we are now into a lot of, or a couple of areas. We invested already 341 million for these water services. We have a Kusina cooperative, school-based feeding program. That is the photos of this. So we are very grateful, celebrating 65 years of FICO, but we know there's still a lot of things to do. In Northern Mindanao, this particular seed of cooperative, the tree, has already grown 1,350 cooperatives in Mindanao, 47 billion pesos in total assets, 1 million plus in membership. A lot of them are already big multimillionaire cooperatives. So it is a social economic force to reckon with. FICO is one of the most active in the Philippines. But we need to really have good cooperatives to really work and establish in the Philippines. Healthy cooperatives. If not, cooperatives will just die also a natural death. So we need totally fit cooperatives. There are other cooperatives in Mindanao, agrarian reform cooperatives. I don't have much time to show them to you, but these are existing. An interesting thing is about the interface of Lumad community culture and the cooperative. These are smaller cooperatives among the IPs. And now let me conclude. Yes, establishing cooperatives is really a way to go, but we have to start small. It reminds me of the small is beautiful, but big is also powerful. We have to make it bigger because the imbalance is there in society, and the imbalance will create abuses. And we need to balance that with people power, a third force for counterbalancing. So we need this good balanced society like a nature forest. Individual ownership, government ownership, corporate ownership, and a large ownership and control by cooperatives to alleviate poverty and to have more equitable distribution of wealth and resources. So that's the three. Salamat. for your patience
Okay,
and
thank
time.
you.
Salamat.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mercado, Sir Boy. No? So let's give our speaker a warm round of applause by clicking your the reaction button. So and also clap. So thanks a lot, Dr. Mercado, Sir Boy, for
Welcome,
the
welcome.
presentation, for uh, going over the experience of PICO in Cagayan de Oro. Our next speaker is also as prominent in the area of cooperatives. Ms. Pia Okidlay Paraguya, or Ibing as she called, is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the National Confederation of Cooperatives, or NATCO. NATCO is a federation of 850 cooperatives with a consolidated asset of 270 billion pesos and owned by 6.4 million individual members. Most of the service of their member cooperatives is savings and credit, but no less than 200 member cooperatives are engaged in agriculture. NATCO services revolve around three major business, including treasury and payment services, support services, education, consultancy, information technology, and also monitoring and self-regulation through stabilization and fund system. She has been working with the cooperative movement since 1993. She was appointed the CEO of NATCO when a vacancy occurred in 2000, and she worked also as the CEO of another cooperative, MASTEC, from 2000 to 2009, where she steered the participation of Federation of Cooperatives in the digital financial services. She's also a plenary speaker in international cooperative movement, including the International Summit of Cooperatives, the World Council of Credit Unions, and the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions. She was also the chair of Proxfin, an association of organizations in 25 countries assisted by a international development agency called Development International Desjardins. She also served as the person of the Caucus of Development NGOs, the biggest NGO networks in the country. Currently, the chairperson of the network Consolidated Cooperative Bank and the Balay Mindanao Foundation. She's also used to be chair of the National Cooperative Development Council in the Philippine Cooperative Center. A chemical engineer, she's a graduate of Master in Business and Management of the Asian Institute of Management, Makati City. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ibing Pagaruya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Randy, for that introduction. May I be allowed to share? Okay, start
Yes,
my video.
please. Yes.
Okay, so
you have 15 minutes po.
Okay, that's fine. Yes. Let me check my presentation. Can you now see my slides?
Yes, I think we have to. Can you click a slideshow? And
It's
then
already
so
on
that can be
present, but
presenter view.
yes, I'll stop my video because my connectivity might not be that good. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, we can see it. But wait, can you? It's there previously. Can you show it po again?
Is it okay now? No. Still not there?
Not yet. Last time it
Poster
was
lang.
on Hoy.
I'll stop share, then I'll go back.
Okay.
I'll stop. I'll not show my face so you can see my screen. Now I have a problem. Anyway.
Okay. Okay. We see them. But we see your.
What do you see now?
We don't see the presentation.
Oh.
But we see the. We just see the parang background.
Yeah, that's the first page. Okay, let me.
Okay.
Is that,
okay.
That's okay now?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Sige.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the presenters in this afternoon's webinar. I'm coming from Bukidnon in our farmhouse here. I have been locked down here since March of last year. Probably the best place to be during this lockdown. So I'll have three major items in my presentation. First, a short introduction on NATCO. Then I'll show you the trends or highlights of the engagement of co-ops in agriculture and in the food system. And I will show two sample cooperatives. This has been mentioned earlier that NATCO is a federation of 859 cooperatives with 6.4 million individual members. The consolidated assets would be 295 billions with 2,199 offices all over the country. So as mentioned, our services consist of three clusters: the finance, support services, and the monitoring. And our mission is to build the socioeconomic capabilities of cooperatives for the upliftment of the quality of life of the people. While there are 859 cooperatives, we estimate, because we have not reviewed yet, but we estimate that at least 200 of our members right now would be engaged in agriculture. Back in 2016, when we did an analysis of the membership, we had 793 members and 162 was engaged in agriculture. That's around 20%. Right now, what is new? For example, in terms of the billionaire cooperatives, because there are actually the classification of co-ops by asset would be micro, small, medium, and large. But what we did was to also segregate the large and the billionaires. So in the NATCO network, there would be 52 billionaire cooperatives, and two of these would be federations. So 50 primary co-ops. When we look at the figures, 10 of them are now into agriculture. So this trend is really something new. Back in 2016, we only had 9, and now it's 18. If to provide the context, in the early 2000, most of the co-ops really went into specialization. The focus then was really savings and credit. And most of the cooperatives worked hard to improve their operations in savings and credit. This is, I think, a recent trend that the big co-ops are now into agriculture. So here on the right side, you would see there the picture on the top. That is the MSU IIT, National Multipurpose Co-op. They plan to put up a 50 million facility for rice processing. In the middle would be Panabo Multipurpose Co-op. They are into business development services and will put up their own agri initiative. At the bottom would be Tagum Cooperative. They are planning to also have their Eco Agri Hub. So I put these pictures because these co-ops are new, in a sense, new entrants if we look at agriculture. There would be other cooperatives in the billionaires row, which were already engaged in agriculture before. And I think in Cagayan de Oro City, you have FICO there, and there is also Oro Integrated Cooperative. No, so we're seeing a trend where more cooperatives are engaged in agriculture, and maybe the 200 figure is a low side in terms of the estimate. Just to share with the group that during the lockdown, we have partnered with PBSP, and we even partnered with Ateneo de Manila. So in this graph, you will see that we actually mobilized food from Benguet to Tarlac and then to Pangasinan, and this was packaged and delivered to the communities in NCR. So remember that at the height of lockdown, there was a Bayanihan Musikahan. So we were able to deliver 12,652 food packs. So NATCO as the federation, we work with these three cooperatives as the source of food. The co-op in Baguio City to provide the vegetables, the co-op in Tarlac to provide the rice, and the co-op in Pangasinan to provide the dried fish. And this was delivered to the communities in Manila. So you can imagine the flow of the goods. There was a truck coming from Baguio, picked up the vegetables, which was packaged by the co-op, went to Pangasinan, picked up the fish, and then went to Tarlac to pick up the rice, and then went straight to NCR. So it's it's a good experience where NATCO was able to aggregate these different food items for delivery to the NCR communities. So what I did was actually look at the chains from production to processing, distribution, and very few for consumption, but I looked at where the co-ops are playing some roles. So generally, because NATCO is engaged in savings and credit, you will see that the co-ops provide credit for agricultural inputs. Some of them would have farm machineries. And just in the last 3 years, it became clearer and it became a strategy that the credit is not enough. You have to add business development services. So even across Asia right now with the Asian Confederation of Credit Union, ACU would be very specialized, but they have shared a business solution of putting business development services in the cooperatives. And the BDS could be in agriculture or other enterprises of the members. We also see co-ops with agri-vet supply, and a number of co-ops are also learning site for agriculture and even test the accredited partner. For the post-harvest facilities, this can be shared service facilities, or sometimes it's just the co-op providing the storage facilities. In terms of the distribution and the consumption side, the co-op can buy the products and sell it to other co-ops or other market. We have examples of the co-op partnering with government agencies for sale of the products to their members and the community, or the co-op aggregates the products of the members for supply to specific markets, and even co-op putting up FB page to connect the buyers and seller among the members. Some of our co-ops are operating their own wet markets. So that would be the activities at the primary co-op level. At the federation, our role continues to be capacity building on the savings and credit operations. We're looking at digitalization, even the payment platform, digital marketing. We do strategic planning, and lately we're able to do integration of, for example, the targets for coffee into the strategic plan of the savings and credit co-op. And because of our networking with the Korean and Japanese movements, we're able to send our leaders to the Korean and Japanese agricultural movements. And that is very good because it is in Korea and Japan where you also see the models of the agricultural cooperatives. The next slide, as I mentioned, is the business development services. So just two examples, the Paglaom, where they have the marketing and processing facilities for their cacao and other products, or the Ateneo in Abra, where you have a good number of people involved in business development services. The next slide, I'm just sharing with you, this is the partnership of cooperatives with the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So, for example, this Valenzuela Development Co-op, they have a green leaf market. So they would get supplies from BIFAR at 2 tons per week. And this is sold either in the market or sold directly to their members. Even the Novaliches Development Cooperative and the Bagong Silang, they also have the same partnership. So you can imagine the link directly from the fisher folks through the BIFAR, and this is delivered to the consumer market in the NCR. So for Novadesi, that would be 4 tons per week of fish. Then this is an example of the Facebook page developed by the cooperative so that the members which are selling their products can post it and the members can also buy. So that just one example. So I have shown to you what NATCO is doing, that while our engagement is mostly on savings and credit, we're able to support the existing cooperatives in their role in the whole system. One example would be Camarines Sur Multipurpose Cooperative. This is a co-op in Camsur with more than 4,000 members. But look at this, 57% of their members would be farmers. And what they did was to provide financial and technical support. They released production loan, provided extension service. In terms of inputs, they provide seeds, and they also distribute the farm inputs, and they have machineries and facilities both at the production side and post-harvest services. So these are just pictures of the cooperatives, and most of these equipment would be grants from the Department of Agriculture. Kamsur, I think, is one of the best rice processing center in the whole country. And you will see that part of their market would be the local government units. They deliver to various LGUs. And when they deliver, actually, it's not just their own product, but they also link with other small farmers in the area. They also have a trading store where they sell directly these products. Another initiative would be related to other products. This is still also related to rice, but they acquired trucks, they procure the farmer's harvest, they have the store outlets, they link with institutional buyers, and they do online marketing. So some of the pictures of the vegetables which they either produce or buy from their members. And they partner with the Department of Agriculture for Kadiwa on Wheels. And right now, they have ongoing construction of cold storage in Camarines Sur. On the right, you will see them selling tomato seedlings. And for me, this is so Japanese because in the Japanese movements, the farmers usually also buy their seedlings even from the cooperatives. Rather than each of the farmers having their own seedlings, then it is the co-op which produce these seedlings. Another example would be NATCO Network at Baklay Multipurpose Cooperative. This was organized in 1993 with 34 members and 3,400 share capital. And in 2012, they only had 88 members. So you can imagine that they grew very slow. Then we had a partnership with them in 2013. We have a program, the Microfinance Innovation in Cooperatives, and in partnership with the Department of Agrarian Reform, where DAR provided a grant for capacity building, and we improved the savings and credit operations. We released 6 million loan to this cooperative. After 6 years, they got a grant from the Philippine Carabao Center for their dairy carabaos and various equipment from DA. And in 2020, they started their dairy processing, and they won the bid for the feeding program in various provinces. And during this time, they also asked a loan from NATCO for additional equipment and operating capital. This year, they put up a bakery because right now part of the feeding program would be the Nutriban, and they expanded in Pagadian. This time, they will need short-term loan to finance the Nutriban feeding program. In all of this, the role of NATCO as the federation, we went into financing, technical assistance and consultancy, computerization of their system, digital payments, and exposure to the Japanese agricultural cooperatives. So here you have the data. 2012, they were just 88. In 2013, 547, and now they're more than 5,000. In 2013, we lent them 6 millions. In 2019, it was down to 3.8. In 2020, they borrowed again just to finance the equipment. And this year, the borrowings is down to 6 million. So you'll see how the co-op has grown from 9 million in 2013, now an 80 million. And this will become a large cooperative by year end. But you will see that most of the funds now come from the deposits and share capital of the members. So I think what we have shown to you is the role of NATCO, that even if we are into savings and credit, and that is our expertise, we are looking at the cooperatives which are now into agriculture. Our main assistance there would be capacity building and financing of the participation of the cooperatives. And I think NATCO will have to rethink how it will move further as we look at the trend where more cooperatives are now into agriculture. Now that I am in the farm, I heard this in the previous webinar. How do we put the food system in our own hands? And for a CEO and a farmer like me, it is very interesting that here in the farm, right from your garden, you're able to control your own foods and have it straight from your own garden. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Ibing. Again, that was a very good presentation on highlighting really of cooperatives in food production. So let's give Ma'am Ibing a round warm of electronic applause. So let's put the reaction bot, click our reaction bots. So thank you very much, Ma'am Ibing, for highlighting the role of NATCO in terms of improving agriculture and food production in our country. Okay, so for our third speaker, as interesting, I think the presentation that we'll make in a while. Our third speaker also is very prominent in the cooperative sector. Mr. Crisente or Chris Paez is a native of Zamboanga. So many of our cooperative leaders are coming from Mindanao, and a graduate of the University of Southern Mindanao with a degree in agriculture. He has been active in the rural scene, serving 3 terms as party list representative for the Co-op NATCO, or the national, which is also Ma'am Ibing's organization, and has been active for around 40 years. Well, just as maybe some of you have known, the cooperatives that were organized by NATCO many of them form great party list organization, and Sir Chris was their representative in Congress for several years. Prior to his stint in the House of Representatives, he served as the Chief Executive Officer of the Philippine Development of Human Resources in Rural Areas, PhilRA, a very prominent rural organization. In the Department of Agrarian Reform Assistant Secretary in 1990, and also the executive director of a large cooperative called the Visayas Cooperative Development Center, or VICTO, from 1985 to 1990. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Chris Paez. Mr. Chris, the floor is yours. You also have 15 minutes.
Yes, maraming salamat, Randy.
Randy.
Let me share my screen. Okay ba? Is it visible now?
Yes, we can see it clearly. Thank you very much. It's very clear.
Okay, as I said, maraming salamat. Daghang salamat. I'm joining this webinar here in Cebu City. It's really a privilege for us to share our experience. We are a new organization.
Hello, I think we lost Sir Chris. Chris, are you there? Hello?
Regional and local systems, no?
Hi, sorry, Sir Chris. Sorry, let me just interrupt. Would it be better, we lost you for some time, would it be better if you just turn off your video? Maybe your
Okay.
internet connection. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah. I think we again lost.
Randy, baka dapat use the version with Kin for the video.
Would that be
presentation?
Okay?
And then just let Chris.
So I close my video. So let's share my screen again.
We can hear you better. Yeah, we can check, no? Or if not, Kin will share. Sir Chris.
Wala, no? Hindi nakita yung aking presentation.
Actually, Sir Abel Kin, our technical assistant, will now. Would it be okay? I think it might be better if it's the one
Sure,
who will
sure,
show the
sure,
video,
sure.
and then you just
Yeah,
close the video. I think we have a few internet connectivity problems.
mahina yung internet ko yata eh.
Mukhang mahina nga ho. So if that's okay, no? You know, just
So
okay. I think
si Joaquin na ba ito?
nagpapakita. Yes. So Kim is actually showing your slides. Yeah.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat. Thank you. As I said, I would like to focus my presentation on the experience of the Federation Agri-Co-op PH insofar as our initiative on co-ops for food. No. Next slide, please. Now, let me first introduce our federation. Can we go back to the previous slide? Yeah, continue. Okay. So actually, there are three parts in my presentation. So time, I would focus only on the first part. But if I have still time, I could also share about our co-op mart business model, where we reorient the concept of co-op marts to consider the products of the farmers and the cooperatives. So we would like to redefine this kind of business model. And if I have still time, I would like to share with you part 3. This is highlights on setting up commodity clusters. Okay, next. Now, we were founded in August 12, 2017, registered on August 15, 2018. So we are just 3 years, and our collective membership is 31 in terms of primaries, 525 individual members. The combined resources is 216 million. And 70% of these cooperatives are small ones. So we have few big. Next, please. Now, when we started, we had only 625,000 assets. And our founding chair was from Mindanao, si Mr. Rabanera from Oro Integrated Cooperative. When we were registered, si Mr. Edelito Sangco, yung chairman ng Socorro, empowered co-op in Surigao. Right now, we are in 9 months, we have 35.5 million total assets. So maliit pa, ikumpara natin sa of course, sa NATCO and other federations. Next. Now, why we exist, why we organize Agri-Co-op PH. By the way, Agri-Co-op PH is Philippine family farmers agriculture, fishery, forestry cooperative federation. And there are actually 4 compelling reasons why we organize this federation. And one of these is limited involvement in value chains and lack of market power. We know that our farmers, because they are small, their involvement in the value chain is really limited. And in most cases, they are only at the level of production. We strongly believe that the persistence of this kind of limitation is detrimental to the sustainable development of our food systems and food security. Therefore, it is the common interest of the farmers to engage in collective action. And this is the function of the cooperative, having a dual personality as an association and as a business enterprise. We have to understand the fact that in many instances, there is a conflict between this dual personality of the cooperative as association of people and as a business enterprise. Now, our role, the role of the federation is to provide opportunities for adding and capturing value that bring income to the farmers. Now, the second reason is the fragmentation, no? And fragmentation and highly dispersed ang micro and small farmers cooperatives. Now, this issue has two sides of the coin. The first is that the self-help spirit not embedded, no? In fact, they existed because of government programs. There are so many small cooperatives around, of the 5,000 agricultural cooperatives in the country, around 90% of these are micro and small. And many of these cooperatives existed as a result of the program of the government. The other side of the coin is that the organizers and the members were not entrepreneurially oriented. Now, in my experience as a cooperative practitioner, ang the most challenging institution are agricultural cooperatives.
So I think we
Get
lost.
members who have resources, who have savings, and they can easily contribute money, thereby increasing easily the resources of the cooperative. But this is not happening, no, in the agricultural cooperative, and in the agricultural cooperative, the chairman at the same time is the manager. If you have the treasurer is also the bookkeeper, and you don't have finance officer. And here you are talking about 50 people, 100 people, because as I said, this is the result of the program of the government, and they are after of the support of the government. So they would not like even to open their membership to others. So we would like to reorient this kind of attitude or this kind of thinking. And we thought that by organizing a federation, we would be able to consolidate the small cooperatives. We are not after of merging or amalgamation because this is very difficult to do it. So what we could do is consolidate them, translate them into a commodity hub, and perhaps we can identify a lead cooperative that can consolidate the resources. And in fact, the experience that I'm going to share with you is anchored on that perspective. Co-op governance and management is not professionalized. I mentioned this already. And then the last point here is that there is an equal bargaining power in the food system. In our experience, when we move products, and then the logistics like shipping, they are also controlled by big institutions, and they have also their own interest in protecting also their business because they have also tie up or linkage with the traders and wholesalers. So this is our challenge, no? Now, but this is a larger and more complex issue faced by the small farmers. We all know the fact that our agri-food systems are dominated by vertically integrated large private enterprises, which have undoubtedly contributed to achieving higher food output and productivity levels along the food supply chain. The success, however, has resulted in several negative conditions, no, na affecting our small-scale farmers. Next slide, please. Now, let me talk about our experience on the food supply chain and commodity hubs. Now, the first thing we did is we look into the membership And we found out that in the federation, there are 10 commodity co-ops, meaning cooperatives specializing in specific commodity. So we have the so-called rice cooperatives, and we have also cooperatives only engaged in organic rice, cooperatives only engaged in calamansi, and we have also cooperatives whose members are coconut farmers, and cooperatives who are to banana, corn, and forestry. So these are organized along commodity. And then the nature and character of this kind of cooperative is different, no, from the other types of cooperatives where they are highly diversified. So it becomes difficult now when we'll be engaging the agricultural cooperatives in highly diversified commodities as their enterprises. For example, in the case of the Federation, we have 13 agri-based co-ops with diversified enterprises, meaning they're into 3 or 4 or 5 commodities because that's the common or the demand of their members. Nga gusto nila, yung kooperatiba nila, hindi lang mag-focus sa isang commodity, maraming commodity. And we have also co-ops engaged in banking, and those also engaged in only on, they are supporting us in terms of investments. Okay, next. What is our approach? We thought that the first thing that we should do is to localize or territorialize the agri-food system. So what is the possibility of short circuit, meaning first their own community before going to the next border or to the next province. So this was our thinking, no, that we look into that, and then perhaps we should be the first food provider of our own communities, and then we can expand to other borders. So this was our strategy. Okay, next. Next, please. Now, we have strategies. One of the strategies is matching products and markets. And because farmers, they produce and produce, they are not even thinking about what the market requires. So we told them that we need to do some differentiation of our product that has incremental value. So in terms of quality, sustainability, and locality. Quality in terms of they are organically produced or produced through gaps, and we can assure the safety of the product of the farmer. Sustainability in terms of the continuity, no? Because what is common challenge in our cooperative, when there is marketing agreement, hindi nila kaya i-sustain ang supply. So walang sustainability. And then also in terms of locality, what is the distance between the production area and the market? Tapos hindi natitingnan yung inauna sana nila yung what is the demand in the community rather than the demand doon immediately sa ibang market. But of course, that would depend on the attractiveness of the price, kung malaki yung kikitain nila. So here in my presentation, I would like to share to you a business case, yung sa rice, yung sa dairy, sa vegetables, banana at saka sa ginger. And it's not really simple or easy because how many times na-deliver kami ng ginger at saka binalik yung ginger kasi hindi tama majority. Bakit hindi tama yung majority? Because the cooperative lacks the extension service nga magsasabi sa farmers nga dapat hindi muna natin i-harvest ito. Dapat talaga matured and matured. Na kasi ito ang okay, next.
Sorry, Sir Chris. I think you have a couple of minutes left. So I do apologize for trying to keep within the time. But please.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about
how
that.
many minutes more I have? Yeah.
Maybe you can present a case, maybe. As if it's
Yeah,
time
okay.
to-
The second strategy here is redefining the supply chain. No, what is common to us is about a supply chain that has something to do with the linkage the farm and the market. No, so we have different dynamics. Maraming nangyayari in fact nga hindi natin alam, no. In fact, of the LGUs now are tapping the local cooperatives to be the supplier of foods para sa kanilang food distribution. Now, dito sa federation level, we have the co-op to co-op trade. And then we are also reorienting the business model of the co-op retail store in such a way that they have to increase the inventory of the store that would come from the produce of the members and the farmers. And for this, we conducted a study of the co-op mart around 10. No, paano namin i-reorient ito. Yung the other one, itong co-op to public purchase, pinaka maganda because to prepare for their production, because if we could get a purchase order from an institutional buyer or even from procurement government, we can ask already the cooperative that these are the kind of products that you have to produce, and these are the timing. So to me, this is more although challenging, pero maganda siya in terms of preparing the production at the level of the farmer. Of course, we have also experience in the co-op to industrial firms. This is consolidating the produce of the farmers with the federation as the facilitator. Okay, next. And the third strategy is supporting the clusters. This is in fact our experience in creating commodity hub. Maybe we can proceed to the next slide. We are racing against time. Okay, next slide, please. So dito, ang ginawa namin, we started with conducting a feasibility study on Agusan Rice Cooperative Hub. Now, in that study, we found out that there is in fact market within that region, and this market are also cooperatives. When we gather around 19 cooperatives in that study, found out that rice supply of 300,000 baht, and around 74,000 bags. So that was the starting point. And then because other cooperatives are not prepared financially, so we appointed a lead cooperative. Kung sa corporate pa lead firm, ito mayroon tayong lead cooperative as the consolidator of the Agusan Rice Cooperative Hub. This one is already operational. We conducted a study in 2019, and this has been operational until today. Next, please. Next slide. So here, what is the impact of the rice hub? So this is Santo Niño Multipurpose Cooperative in Butuan. This is a rice cooperative. And we enter into marketing agreement with ACDI. ACDI is a savings and credit cooperative with 12 branches in Mindanao. And we supply them with 1,000 bags. 1,000 bags. And the price agreed upon was 48 pesos per kilo. At the time, when we have this agreement, ang presyo doon sa merkado, aabot siya ng 54. But the cooperative can offer up to the level of 48. Pero malaking itong impact na presyo sa 48 because the cooperative can buy now palay from 12 to 17. This was the time where when the rice tariffication law was enacted, implemented, sudden drop yung
Hello, I think Sir Chris's internet connection was lost.
rice hub and go into interco-op trading. So we managed to increase the price. So ang buying price nila nagiging 17 pesos per kilo. Okay, next.
So I think you just have maybe a minute na lang left. I do apologize for interrupting your presentation. So maybe you can just
so
wrap
this
up.
one here, this one here is because of the we're able
Okay, we lost again. I think we're having, so I do apologize for the internet connection problems that we're having. So Chris, are you there? Okay, I think we finally lost Sir Chris. Sir Chris, I hope that it's okay. Maybe we end up your presentation. We do apologize that maybe we can just have in the open discussion, we can discuss some of your the cases that you presented. But yeah, it's a very good overview. Just to let the others, just to recap the presentation. Chris Pies gave overview of the different problems in the agriculture sector and how cooperatives try to address some of these problems and look at some of the results. Gave a few cases cooperatives and provided good cases.
sorry Randy, I was
benefited,
disconnected,
farmers.
no?
Yes, okay, sige.
Maybe I will just wrap up. Maybe I will just wrap up
okay,
na lang,
sige,
no?
just wrap up.
I-wrap up ko na lang. So ito, yun ang challenge, yung logistics, they're controlled by the business people. Nga, these are the people also, they have to protect the interests of their partners. So kung kami ang ang mag-rent, ang bigay nila sa amin mas mahal. So in fact, the rate is supposed to be only around 58 or 60 pesos. Pero ang nangyari dito, ginawa ng 69,000 pesos. That's one. And our and to me, what is important is the participation of the federation in the procurement of food items by the government agency. In this case, is this WD. For the last 6 months, ang aming traded volume umaabot ng mga more than 50 million. So we are thinking of really focusing on this because when you focus on the institutional purchase, mas maganda ang takbo doon sa at the level of the primary cooperative because they can prepare the goods that they have to produce and scale up, no? So marami pa akong sabihin sana pero in the interest of time, so maraming salamat po for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the presentation. So let's give Mr. Chris Enterprise Chris Paez, no, a warm round of EA Plus, no, for discussing the important issues, no, of in the agriculture sector and how the cooperatives have responded to that. Okay, so I think we're going now into the tail end, no, of our and last not but the least, our speaker this afternoon is Dr. Ernesto Ernie Ordonez, no? And as you know, that he has actually had many prominent positions. He was Secretary of the Presidential Flagship Programs and Projects, another Secretary of Trade and Industry, another Secretary of Agriculture. He is President of the Cement Manufacturers Association of the Philippines and the ASEAN Federation of Cement Manufacturers. He is also president and co-founder of the for Water Security and a columnist of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. He writes a column on AgriWatch. No? He graduated AB Economics at the cum laude at Ateneo de Manila University, and also received fellowships at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Columbia University, Yale University. Finished his master's in management sciences, and the New York University, where he finished his doctorate in business administration, the top of his class during his final year. So with further ado, Dr. Ernie Ordonez. Sir Ernie, the floor is yours.
Magandang gabi po. Ako po si Ka Ernie Ordonez. Alam po ninyo, ang talk ko ay sisentro sa sinabi ni Ed Valenzuela. Unang-una, ang title po nitong seminar na ito ay Revitalizing Food Systems. Revitalizing Food Systems, no? Ginagamit nila yung tatlong aspect, no? Yung production, marketing, at consumer. Pero sa pamaraan ng kooperatiba. Yan ang orientation. Okay, ngayon. Umpisahin ko ito sa isang storya na medyo fictionalized, no? Alam po ninyo, when I was a student leader, I would go to the farm and I would look at the coconut farmer, no? And I would say, ang tamad naman ninyo. You're poor because you don't do anything. Just wait for the coconut. These two happening in many places. They don't do much, right? Okay, and they're starving na, no? Sabi niya, why don't you work? Sabi sa akin. Alam po ninyo, ikaw ay parang ibon sa langit. You're like a bird in the sky. You fly very fast. From the city, ito yung sapatos mo at yung pantalon, pang syudad yan. We are like fish in the river. All right? We're very slow. So you tell us the fish in the river. Ang bagal nyo, move faster. Alam po niyo kayo, bago kayo magsalita, ikaw bata ka pa. You come here into my river and you swim with me. And you swim with me and you'll find out the problems in this river. There are many problems. There are predators, there's current, there's garbage, etc. And after you find out what you're going through, go back to the sky. And when you go back to the sky, you say, iba talaga doon, no? Yeah, so you go back to the sky, and you do that and start talking to me. Iba ng lengguwahe mo because you will now know what we face. And therefore, before you talk, you must know what's happening. Why is that story important for the topic today? Okay? That story is important for the topic today because what I saw, right, is that the people, especially from Makati, all right, they say, oh, farmers are lazy, they're not creative, they look down on us, right? And what happens is that our country goes lower and lower and lower. All right. So what's my talk? Can I have the next slide, please? Now, my talk is composed of 4 things, right? Unang-una, what is my background in cooperatives, no? And how did I come to this seminar, di ba? How did I come here, right? Secondly, what do I see as the key problems, right? And I would like to say that I really appreciate these 3 speakers. The 2 are fantastic models. The third one goes beyond fantastic. It goes into strategic problems and solving, di ba? Okay, I'll tell you my vision of the problems. Instead, my talk is 11 minutes, not 15 minutes. No? Tiniming ko na. And then the third one is with that, sandali lang, go back. No? With that, this problem is what is that in the system that is the topic today? The food system, that's the river. That's the river. Before we go to the sky and talk down to the Pilon River, how is that in the system and what is my recommendation? Now, I will tell you, no, Cooperative Development Authority, correct? I thought they'd be here, you know what I mean? Because they're really important because in other countries, it's not Department of Agriculture, okay? Department of Agriculture and Cooperatives. Dito, anong cooperatives dito? Kinuha ko sila. Alam po ninyo, they don't do any cooperative work. They only register. So what has happened? The cooperative movement in this country is a big failure. Why is the big failure? Because most of them crash. And part of it is the government where they got these little guys and say, before I lend you money, make a cooperative, right? They make a cooperative. And if not what they're doing, they get the money, they all lose money. But the God's cooperatives that I see here, they're the best. They're the ones who lead the country, right? But the government has nothing except they register. So what's happening? There is no cooperative promotion in this country. There is registration. And what I've seen today is that we want what happened in other countries to be. We want the cooperatives to lead, not to lead. I mean, who's the small? You think the big banks are helping this poor? No, no, no. Okay. The extension workers, 70,000 workers used to help them. Now they're devolved to the agriculture municipal officers, and most of them do not do agriculture. Wala na natira. Ano natitira? Mangko sa magaling, like what you heard, right? And what I like about Mr. Pies is he understands exactly what problems are. So now, let me go to my next slide, right? What's my background? Next slide. Okay. Alam po ninyo, I had a project, no? I got 3 million pesos. I got UPLB, Deans, whatever. I have a book, right? 1,000 pages. It's now published, right? It's my only published book. I've been writing in the choir every week for 19 years, only on agriculture. I understand it well, right? But my background really is industry. I was head of cement in 6 countries. So why is a cement guy going to agriculture? Because I'm a bird in the sky. I want to know what's happening in the river, right? And I find what's happening in the river is fantastically wrong compared to what's happening in the sky. In industry, the government is solving it. In agriculture, the government is not only not helping, it is crushing us. Of course, there are good people there, but that's why we want to see in the next election where agriculture come in. And that's where the co-ops should come in. I think the co-ops today must be, right, in the center of agriculture planning, right, like in other countries, right? Okay, what did I find out in my book, right, which is UN developed, it's published, no? All right. Alam po ninyo, sa buong ASEAN, ang pinakamalaking agwat ng farm gate price at yung binibili ng consumer, pinakamalaking agwat dito, napakaraming channels, di ba? Walang economies of scale, di ba? So, in cooperative, sabi nga noon, may economies of scale, kung isa-isa ka, walang mangyari, dapat cooperative. Pero kung cooperative kayo, dapat maayos ang takbo, hindi pakalat-kalat, is what's happening with us, no? Okay, producers, right, di ba? If you're a farmer, kung hindi ka co-op, patay ka na. If you're co-op, right, you can hire a tractor, you can share it, di ba? If you cannot hire a tractor, di ba? You can buy fertilizer at a discount. Alam na ninyo yon. Marketing pareho rin yan, di ba? You can group together, purchasing, you can come in. I don't have to talk about that. These people, you've heard about it. Okay, that's advanced. And I understand you listening here, no cooperatives already. I won't go into that too much. No, alam na natin yan. Next slide, please. Ang next slide po ay ano problema? Nakita ko. Alam po yung mga malaking cooperatives, ang gagaling talaga. Tama, talo pang Korea at iba pa. Yung maliliit, karamihan maliliit, patay. They said Mindanao is good, Luzon is no good. That's true. Kasi in Luzon, they had better background. Luzon, hindi masyado. Ang daming walang kwenta. Because out there, the worst thing you did cooperatives, what the government did, they said, you want to borrow money? Make a cooperative. So they grouped together, they borrowed money, they know what to do. They have no leader, no finance, whatever. Unang-una, walang management, kailangan provider management. No? Meron kaming seminar, MAP, ABC, nandito, ang genius namin sa Gomez nakikinig. Nakita niya, no? Itong agri-training center, pag-government parpak, ang gumawa nito, yung cooperative tumira, private sector, no? Ang galing, management, sinabi ng management pala. Dapat magaling management. Hindi pwede yung cooperative walang management. Dapat one. And that's the question I have. Are we teaching the already people? That's what I'm saying. Cooperative Development Authority, we must have a revolution there because they're doing registration, nothing else. They're really killing us, right? Okay. When you have a cooperative and you have them, you will kill them. Malulugi pa. Second one, unity of purpose. Dapat malinaw ang purpose nyo. No? Ano ba kayo, right? Ano ba kayo? Are you gonna penetrate the market with low price or sell at high price? Dapat sabay. It's like a religion, like El Shaddai. The whole coverage should be a team. Where do you know that? Ang gagaling ng mga team dito. Team talaga yan. Unity of purpose, hindi pakalat-kalat. And the third one, values. Marami na rinig, no? Cooperative. Okay, may cooperative. Bibili ng sibuyas o kamatis, right? May agreement. Tapos yun, may mura. Doon pumunta. Ikaw naman yung nagbigay ng loans na walaan. Pole vaulting. Maliban doon sa core, maraming corruption, di ba? Yung tatlong yon, no? But I won't talk into that. I think you know about that, no? I'm gonna into something else. Next slide, please. Okay. What am I gonna into? I'm gonna go into the system. Yung title natin, food system. I'm gonna talk about the food system and how cooperatives can come in. Okay, food system. Unang-una, our farmers are condemned to poverty. You know why? Coconut, right? Coconut, 3 million. 2 million of them have nothing in between the trees. You know why? Coconut Authority thinks their job is coconut. Their job is not coconut. Their job is a coconut farmer. The coconut farmer gets only 25,000. Give him cacao, he gets 100,000. If after the cacao he plants other things like in the bottom, kamote, etc., he gets 100,000. I have a personal experience. Okay, I did it last year with someone, and someone is doing it, and I saw it. No, okay, he made 400,000 from bananas. Tamang presyo, tamang product, right? Okay, I mean, why do you keep 2 out of 3 million hectares with nothing? Di ba? Okay. Monocrop pata natin yan. Remember, I said monocrop is crazy. Monocrop. Look at the other countries. Tayo, nagwawala. Corn is corn and nothing else. Rice is rice and nothing else. Okay, have hybrid side. Do better. You can do better than that. In between, you can have relay planting with mung bean, whatever, right? Dami yan. And third, we must talk about the farmer. When you coconut authority, without coconut farmer, when a dairy farmer, what is a dairy farmer confronting? Marami yan. And finally, I'd like to say this, no, nakakatawa. Rice got 55 billion and pure 40 billion. Etong high value class, which you put stuff in, 1 billion, ridiculous, right? I think the whole thing is ridiculous. For example, livestock produces 30% of our gross value added, di ba? They get only 3% of the budget. It's politically determined, it's ridiculous, right? As I told you, no, I see DA and DTI and their worlds apart. I'm not blaming the secretary or people there. I'm just saying that we need a revolution to have new thinking. And sometimes the top management cannot do anything because sometimes some of the people are politically appointed. They cannot touch them, right? Diba? But we need a revolution. Our country is going to hell, okay? Because this Department of Agriculture is wrapped up. We cannot blame some people because sometimes they're controlled by others, okay? Now, what's happening? Tingnan po niyo sa baba. Ang Thailand, 3.5%. Vietnam, 5.5%. Ang Pilipinas, 2%. One half the budget. How can you do anything with that? Diba? Wala. They're treating agriculture like they're no good, right? Okay. Now, if you look at the growth, no, tama naman yung konti pa. Industries is 200%, agriculture 1.6%. Grabe, di ba? Grabe na iwan tayo, right? Ridiculous. And as a result, our poor. We were, alam po niyo, Vietnam and Indonesia had more poor than us. Now we're double them. Isn't that ridiculous? Because the system, the food system, is not correct. It's got to be revolutionized. Now, why am I saying that? In the new elections, you vote for the people who change that system, right? Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Participation. Okay. Alam po nyo, sa batas, meron. Meron. The only department that has private participation in the whole country is agriculture. Alam po nyo, last year, pinutol yan by 1/2. They don't want to hear the private sector talk. Who do I think should talk? The cooperatives should talk. You know, right? The cooperatives, they're doing what the government should do. They're getting into agriculture, machinery, helping and selling. Hindi lang pautang mo na. You see these guys, they're really coming in. You know, if they were the government, we'd be much better off. As a matter of fact, the people who work in government would say, oh my God, if only I had this. Kaya lang, the good ones are few and far between. We must have more, right? We must have more. And they're the ones. And in other countries, Department of Agriculture and Cooperatives. You know, dito, wala. Magaling na doon po konti, right? Okay. And the Cooperative Authority does nothing. They told me that. They have no money for promotion. They just register. They don't have. My God, you get these people who are in the seminar, you have them given them the money or whatever, have them taught, train the trainer. Kakalat. And the 7,000 workers who are devolved, we're not doing much, right? Bring them back into the fold. Get them the cooperative mentality and again, they'll be fine. Second one, the committees. Yung tariff, di ba? Sobrang important tariff, binaba masyado, nagdala itong hugs, di ba? Naging 5% from 40%, di ba? Actually, the Senate and House rejected that. Do you know that? Unanimously rejected the recommendation of the Office of the President. They want 5%. Rejected. So, matras. But you know, why do you have to have them complain? No? Di ba? Dapat alam natin yun. No? Okay. So, what it is wala kasing committee tinanggal. At yung committee ng budget, alam po nyo, kasama ko doon. No? Alam mo, 1/3 of my life government, 1/3 of my life private sector. Activist ako, activist. Okay. I 9-year warrant of arrest for subversion, even though I did nothing wrong. Di ba? Kaya hina-hinay lang tayo dyan sa anti-terrorism news ninyo. I'm a victim. Yeah? Okay. The thing there, what happened, okay, is that before we would go there, funded by the government, you know, lousy plane, lousy hotel, and we would go there and say, ito yung kung ano, itong pera ginamit ko ba? Natakot sila because nagmo-monitor kami. Tinanggal yun, so wala nang monitoring. Okay, ano nangyayari sa kuha ngayon? 23 billion lax documentation. Okay, ano yun? Corruption ba yun? Baka. Di mo alam. Ang laki, no? 20 billion. Do we understand each other? Magkano siya ng police? Di ba? 23 billion. Yan. In fairness, may explanation. Hintayin natin. No? Okay. And in addition, dahil walang private sector doon, ganun, 6 billion hindi nagastos. Dagdag mo nga yan, 39 billion. Di ba? Kung nandun yung private sector, kung nandun yung coverage, and for me, the best one to go into private sector movement is not the Catholic priest or the Buddhist monks. It is the cooperatives. They are helping people and the people continue. The good ones. The bad ones, wala na. Pakalat-kalat na yan. The good ones. Right? Can you imagine if our agriculture is leaded by the people here in this seminar? No, ibang usapan yan, right? Okay. Now, finally, the mark was not followed. Okay, dati kasi regional leaders, and I would like to let you know this, all cooperatives, right? I want you to join the local council and then elect. Unfortunately, this year, wala nangyari. In the law, the regional people and private sector, this year, what happened? Hindi na. They get 3 and the boss gets the one he likes. Ano yan? Di ba? Kasi yun, di ba? Wala na, di ba? Aba, mali naman yun. First time it happened since the law was founded in 75. Right? Okay. And secondly, roadmaps getting better. Pero noon, sinabi ng isa, you want us to prove that we never saw it. How do you say complete? We never saw it. Di ba? So because they never saw it, pag dinagay doon, it really happened. Wala nangyayari doon. The day it was there 10 years, nobody touched it. Nobody looked at it. It's ridiculous. It was done by them, but now it's getting better. So I want to compliment here. They're getting better. But they got to do it all the way. No? It's still not being done enough, but hopefully that's there. Okay, so nasabi ko, yung participation, pakalat-kalat. Kinati yung budget, ayaw na mag-usap ang private sector. Tinanggal yung budget monitoring. Bakit? Baka may nangyayari dito. Laki-laki na kon. And ikatlo, yung mga leadership tinatanggal, pipili na yung gusto nila. Mali naman yun. Okay, last slide. Okay, sige, last. Okay. Ano action recommendation dito sa sistema ito? No? Unang-una, yung farmer, hindi yung farmer, kundi yung farmer income. Kaya coconut farmer, wag puro yung kayo. O you do virgin coconut, I can do that. But if you add cacao, it goes to 100. You add panache, add 100. Di ba? Okay. You assume the other crops, like other countries, tayo na lang ang monocrops, called a ridiculous, stupid monocrop strategy. Coconut is coconut, rice is rice, corn is corn. Are you crazy? All the other countries have many things. Number 2, yung budget, pinutol nyo, when di mo pinutol, talagang malabo yan, noon pa. No? It's half what other countries give. Binababo yung farmers. Our food system, that is a topic today, will never progress with that kind of help, right? Okay. And then when you spend it, marami pang kurakot kasi tinanggal yung monitoring, di ba? Ano ba yan? So, food system, right, through cooperatives. Cooperatives can move in if given the chance, and I think they will be given the chance, okay? With the new government and new leadership, we are given a chance. And the third one, private sector, balik na yung budget, tingnan yung committees para maka-complete. At saka itong plan, dito dapat papasok yung cooperative. Yung magagaling, pumasok na kayo doon, and we will tell them, or some of us will tell them, we will tell all the candidates, get the cooperatives to join into the local council. Kasi yung local council, alam mo, medyo hindi ginamit ng tama. Pero nung ginamit, nakita ko nandun sa Bicol, 5 araw, 5 gabi, tinitingnan ko yung nangyari. Saan merong private sector, sabi nyo, itong ginawa mo yun po. Saan wala? Puro corruption. Puro corruption. It's totally disgusting, right? Okay, fine. Okay, now, next slide, please. Okay? I'm going to be less than 15 minutes kasi pinactice ko na to. Ang conclusion natin, pusitan natin, gamitin na coverage. Bakit? Kung what you saw here, effective, they know what to do, efficient, done very well. That's why they can beat the other businessmen, di ba? Most important, equity. Problema sa ibang ganito, mayaman lang nakuha ng goods. Ito, pupunta tayo, di ba? That is so important, so important. Secondly, but as we do to cooperatives, we must see, meron bang matching capability? Kasi wala, masama yan. You correct it. Provide, are they a purpose or are they getting here to get the money? I mean, they should be like El Shaddai or Iglesia ni Cristo or the Catholic Church. They must have unity of purpose. And then, they must have the values. Diba? Ganun yun. Alright. I asked cooperative authority, are you teaching that? Sorry, we have no money for that. All we do is register. What happens to cooperatives? Ang daming nagwawala. Ang daming magnanakaw. Ang daming nawala ng pera. Ganun. Diba? If we had the people here, I'm gonna say that the people here, we get them into the advisory group and do it, right? And then the budget 10 times and then move, right? Because it's so good, right? And we have this little seminar. I mean, what can we reach if we have the government with its budget? We have people spend. It will be faster, right? Kaya nga yung ginawa ni Chris Pies, no? It's strategic, ang ganda, di ba? And for instance, hindi libro yan. And finally, let's look at the system, right? Hindi yung coconut. Coconut dapat may cacao, di ba? Yung rice dapat may bungbing ganyan, di ba? Dapat, like other countries, parang to be honest with you, parang industry is okay, agriculture is terrible. I mean, you benchmark not against us because against us we're really bad, right? We're the best, now the worst. You're benching us against the worst, no. Bench is against the ones we used to be. They have many products, right? Their budget, and then the money then is there para may nakatingin pa rin yung puro corruption. And then if the price of participation, it's in the law, you're not following the law, right? You're not following the law. You're not following. When you get the people there, you choose the one, you're not doing that. When you cut the budget, right? Okay, and not give them opportunity. When you slash committees that are important, that's really not really doing what's right. Okay, so what I'd like to say, can I have the next slide, please? Okay, the next slide is number one, let's go co-op, but let's do it by spreading this, but we gotta need the money, right, to spread it better and get it government. We gotta get our tax money. I want our tax money to promote what I saw here widely. Because if we rely only on them, it's beautiful. It's not dying fast enough. The farmers are starving and suffering. We gotta get your skills spread as soon as possible. Let's do it, right? For producers, and number two, let the public-private sector come in, and let's do it united in a new program for agriculture governance. Because aren't you sad that we're 1.6%, agriculture 6.8%? Aren't you sad? Aren't you sad that our poverty is double the other countries? Double? Thailand and Vietnam. Are you kidding? Why? There's something wrong with our food system, man. And we've got to repair it. And for me, the bulwark here, who are actually doing it, are the co-ops, right? And the co-ops should move in. So I'll be honest with you, no. I am saying that the model in other countries will give co-ops the right emphasis and they make them lead. That's what we gotta do. What are co-ops now? Their co-ops are goody guys helping a lot. Are you getting any help to spread the word? Not so much, right? And there's so few. In the meantime, they're even doing bad things because they let co-ops come in with no management capability, with no values and no training, and no purpose, and they get destroyed and nakawan lang. Oh, hindi dapat yun. So ladies and gentlemen, my topic today is revitalizing food systems. Yes, do the co-ops and do it your way and get the government to get our tax money to spread it your way because you're doing a great job. It's got to go to everyone else, right? Revitalizing food systems. And what we do is revitalize it, right? With the co-ops like this and spread it, okay, in a system called democracy. You don't start cutting things which are legal. You don't start eliminating committees, which are making sure the budget is properly used, right? Right? Okay. Now, I will tell you this. So are you blaming us? No. I'm just telling you this. 1 minute. Okay. For 22 billion, that is not liquidated. Let's liquidate it. Okay, not 1 minute, 5 seconds. Salamat po sa inyong lahat. And I follow the co-ops. I'm a believer in co-ops. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Ernie, for talk. So let's give Dr. Ernie Ordonez a warm round of electronic applause. Okay, so thank you very much. It's a very interesting. We had a very interesting panel of speakers. I do just apologize for not keeping within time, but I'm sure that you'll agree that the presentations were very interesting. From FICO, Dr. Mindanao, the experience of NATCO, and also the experiences of Sir Chris Payo in terms of the cooperatives. And I think the last talk by Dr. Ernie Ordonez gave a big overview of the policy issues that surround the agricultural sector and how the cooperative sector can help. So let's maybe have answer of some questions that you put in the chat. And maybe I'll just cluster some of these questions. So I think we have one cluster of questions actually are related to how cooperatives are linking with OFWs and also the barangays. So what is the link between co-ops and the local government units and the barangays? And there are also another set of questions related to the role of what are the policies that are hindering and strengthening cooperatives, and what can the government do, which I think Dr. Onyes touched a while in a bit. And are there also cooperatives working on organic agriculture and also on I think there was a last question on periculture also as well, permaculture. So maybe we can have the first question. So maybe how can we link co-ops with local government units, and also with the work being undertaken by OFWs. Maybe I can address this question to Ms. Sylvia Palagoya, being who talked on, I think the NATCO has a program with OFWs, and it's
Yes,
also linked with local government units.
yeah, I think on the OFWs, it was actually Edgar and even Chris Paes who introduced the NATCO to overseas Filipinos. So as early as 2015, we invited Tina and Edgar to introduce migration and development to the whole of NATCO network. Since then, we have joined the LSE consortium, and the objective is to connect the overseas Filipinos to the local cooperatives in their origin towns. So if, for example, if you are in Cagayan de Oro City, we would link you to Oro Integrated, in Tagum to a Tagum cooperative. So we developed a program where, in partnership with the group of LSE, so that we are able to introduce cooperatives to the Ateneo students in the LSE OF program. So the objective is you bring together the overseas Filipinos and their families to the cooperatives, and hopefully because of the literacy programs of the cooperatives, the entrepreneurship, you're able to also teach the families how to handle the money well, the money sent by the OFs. So that project is ongoing now. We have even mobilized a fund from overseas Filipinos through the cooperative. So those cooperatives participating in the program, they put money at NATCO. It's a loan fund directed for agricultural purposes. So that is where we are right now in terms of ensuring that the overseas Filipinos are connected to the cooperatives, including their families. So they get into financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and then probably the LSE program is good. They have the business plan so that when they come back, they do that in their own locality. So that is where we are in terms of OFs. In terms of relating to the LGUs, I have shown in the CAMSOR experience that the cooperatives become the source of the rice needed by the LGU. So sometimes it depends on the relationship of the cooperatives to the local government. But in some areas, there are good relationships. They're able to manage the politics, and they're able to aggregate the rice products of the small cooperatives and supply. Actually, Chris, what they're lobbying now is how that can be strengthened. How do we make sure that the institutional purchases can really be linked with the cooperatives? Because as you mentioned, that would make the life of the cooperatives easier.
Sir Chris, you might want to.
Maybe I can add, no? Cooperatives are active in local government units because they are represented in the local development council. In fact, many LGUs, especially at the level of the province, they're also allocating funds. Their favorite is in agri-related activities, insofar as the linkage is concerned. And also in the PRDP program, this is World Bank funded program, where the money is channeled to the LGUs. Normally, cooperatives are partners in this program because the partnership has to be with groups of farmers, and they should be registered. No, sometimes there are problems, and problems would come in terms of favorites, no? Kasi yung mga LGUs, mayroon silang mga favorites. Lalo na kung sa panahon ng kampanya, nagsusuporta yung co-op, ganyan. May mga leaders nga ganyan eh. So mayroon yan, the linkage is there. The second question in terms of whether there are cooperatives engaged in organic rice, yes, that's correct. In fact, we are now present almost 100 supermarkets all over the country, and through our distribution corporation, GloCorp. GloCorp is the one distributing this to different supermarkets. And there are also established tie-up, especially the big co-ops. Only that yung sa organic, hindi siya sometimes continuing, no? Because maraming challenges dito, at saka mahina din ang market sa organic. I do not know why until now yung ating mga local folks are not really inclined to I think because of the price, kasi mataas ang presyo ng organic rice. Maybe that is also the reason. But that's correct. We have cooperatives engaged in unpolished rice. And there are many of them already.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Chris. So, I'd like to bring into the conversation, Sir Boy. Maybe you want to answer also this question of organic rice and also permaculture. I think are there co-ops that you've encountered are working on this issue of permaculture?
Okay, as far as the first question is concerned about linking with LGUs, FICO is very much on the ground. We just don't talk and talk. We are looking into ways that we can help farmers on the ground. If we make it political, then that is the Waterloo of cooperatives. I've seen so many cooperatives led by very good leaders. Then they went into the election, the politics, and that divided themselves. So their cooperatives fell, and eventually were practically dead. So FICO is very, very much would like to link with LGUs, but we don't want politics in such a linkage or a partnership. We want to go direct to the people and educate them and try to promote cooperatives. That's one point. The other point is FICO is being requested by provincial government to help in agricultural production and cooperative organizing among farmers. So we want to partner with them for so long as they don't make it political and they just don't make it a government kind of program. So if we are clear that that is their motive, then FICO will work with them. Otherwise, we'll go on our own and just establish branches and promote agricultural production wherever we can do it. So that's for the other question about whether we are into organic. Yes, we are very much interested in it, but very few people are going into organic for many reasons. So we are just on the ground. We're listening what is best for a particular barangay or a particular groups of farmers and listen to them and then work from there. Because we have the resources, FICO has the resources. FICO can really definitely help. So that is the way we are looking at all of this.
Okay, thank you, Sir Boy, Dr. Mercado. I'd like, there's also a question earlier on the issue of national policies sustaining cooperatives, which I think to some extent, Dr. Donez actually addressed, but maybe you want to also expound on the point. So the question that in the chat was that, are there any policies or constraining policies and programs of the national government that co-ops face, and what can be done to overcome these constraints? So, sir, if you would just like to answer the question.
May I help answer the question, Doctor?
Yeah. The question was, what are the policies and programs that constrain
Yes.
cooperatives in the country, and what can be done?
No, I heard the question. I just wanted to know if I could answer it. I'd like to answer it. First of all, no, as you know at the start, no, co-ops are exempted from VAT, which is a very big favor. Di ba? Wala kayong value added tax, right? They're having second thoughts. But what are the constraints? Actually, you know what it is? It's political will to give the budget and the mandate. They can do that. They can do that in an executive order. As a matter of fact, that could be something we should demand for the presidential votes in the next election. Because I am very sad, no, that it is all there and they want to do it. I've talked to the heads. He was our guest speaker in camp. Camp is one of the 5 coalitions that I'm with, together with our genius, Cesar Gomez. No? With the speaker there, and we said, "Cops is going to hell. What's happening?" I'm sorry, all I can is register. All you need is say, go ahead and do it because in the law, you're just not you're not doing it because you're not given any money to do it. You get the money, you can do it. It's there. So the law is there to have. Now, are there other laws? Yes, there can be other laws. We can talk about. No? But I'm saying that sometimes in a problem there's 100%. No, you don't have to do 100%. Just get a 20%, and you can make it happen. 20%. The 20% needed here is only a presidential directive to tell those people, I want that budget increase, right? Say, I want the budget for COVID. I want the budget increase, and do it. You know why? There is no appreciation of what co-ops can do. You know why? They're like birds in the sky. They don't know the river. If you know the river and you know the co-op people here, you see what good they've done. See, I've seen it. I've been in the river. I've seen what co-ops have done. And I've also seen what co-ops have not done, which is the wrong kind of co-ops, right? Okay. And these people, when I talk to them, I said, oh, walang kwenta yan, look at the record. You forget. You forget. There are good co-ops and there are bad co-ops. No? Can you please look at the river more closely? Sri Lanka. I'd like to say this now. I'm interested in this now. I'm a farmer leader, etc. And I put my number in the chat box now because what I want to do is I want action, right? Okay. And I'm blessed by God that I'm a former bureaucrat and I'm a businessman. No, but I'm blessed by God because somehow, because of my past experience, and they call me the only virgin in government. There are many virgins. I'm one of them. I'm very, very straight, and because of that, they cannot do anything with me. Correct. And I'd like to say that I'm a kicked out seminarian, but as a result, I've been able to do this. And I would like to reach out to the people listening here. We want action. So we have 2 kinds of action. One, we can do it now. For example, I said that if you want to get into this already, call me up, give you a barangay and all that. We'll see if we can get you there. There's an existing council. Half of them are dead. We need people. We need people to have hope and to fight. No, hindi pwede. Hindi. The country is full of hope. We used to be the leader with the others. So, so in summary, I'd like to say, yeah, you can have more things and all that. Actually, that's not the key. The key is just political will to say, here's the money, go do it according to the law. And then we get the people here moving in. Because if they say, come in, and the people who no good come in, walang kwenta yan. Di ba? Yan lang po. Thank you.
The point of the Colonel is that there are many constraints, but really the question is how do we overcome these constraints? I know it's already 5:10, 12, no? So maybe instead of synthesizing this very informative seminar, so I'll just give each speaker a minute or two just to maybe give their close remarks. And maybe in their closing remarks, they can answer this last question that I received, the chat box. Among the 5 different strategies related to food systems, the UN food system, so that's nutrition, production, livelihoods, and empowerment, resilience, and then implementation. Which do you think among the 5 are most difficult to overcome, and what key strategies should be prioritized? So that could also help make you give some sort of a synthesis, no, of the points that you're making, no. And maybe give your last remarks. I'd like to just to thank you, no, on behalf of the organizers, Ateneo de Davao, Ateneo de Manila, Xavier University, and the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So I'll go again in the order of the presentation. So Sir Boy, what hazards, and then maybe some key strategies to be prioritized in terms of the 5 areas of food systems.
All right. Thank you very much. I think what I'd like to say at this last words, we should really do more for agriculture. Cooperatives should really do more for agriculture production and marketing. If we only do one side of it, one dimension of it, production, we will continue to be very poor country in agriculture, because the key also is, whether we like it or not, the farmers really need more income. They are very responsive if they get good prices for their products. I've seen a lot of farmers who are very poor, but they are not lazy, but they will respond if they get good prices for their products. So these two must really be one of the priorities for cooperatives that can afford to go into more agriculture production, go into marketing, link farmers and consumers. So that is one point. Another point is the LGUs can come in, helping terminal markets for the marketing of produce, not only for cooperatives, but for all kinds of farmers. A terminal market is very, very important. If they can help along that line, cooperatives will respond, other groups of farmers will respond if there is a good terminal market and it's not monopolized by commerciantes. So those are the 2 points that I'd like to just wind up my own presentation.
Sir, it's livelihoods, no, and also production. So, Mami B, any last words? And what do you think among the 5 areas on food systems should be prioritized? No? Is it actually nutrition, production, employment, resilience, or administrative capacity, means of implementation?
First,
What do you think
I'm
is the role of cooperatives?
yes, I'm happy to see that there are more cooperatives which are ready to engage in agriculture, and these cooperatives already have the resources which they can use to participate in the whole chain. And the co-ops itself is a big supplier and market already. You've seen the 6.4 million individuals, and in that group would be the supplier and the market itself. But looking at the 5 identified areas, mas gusto ko tingnan yung nutrition. Nutrition, because I think here we need a lot of education of the people. And I hope the cooperatives can look at that, because there are nutritious food, but it's like even in the rural areas, the people don't appreciate it. Even if the way we eat, we're actually killing ourselves. I am a dairy farmer. The yogurt is actually sour. We love it when it's sweet. It destroys the food. And I think around us, if you're in the rural areas, you're not supposed to get hungry, because there are a lot of vegetables around you. And even if you're in the urban gardening can help you provide your food. So maybe one of the key there is to really teach also our members how to have their own food in their own farm or in their own balcony, so that at some point you have a control of your own food. Little things which when done can really help respond to nutrition, but re-education, because I think we have wrong notion. I always ask, why am I healthy when I grew in the farm? Because we have replaced the vegetables with the noodles. The instant noodles becomes the food of the kids when you have all those good vegetables in the farm. So a lot of education to teach the mothers what is best for the children.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Bing. So nutrition for Ma'am Bing. Okay, next, Sir, any last words, and maybe if you can also include in your last words which of the 5 areas should be prioritized.
Yes, thank you. No, yung nakita namin dito sa ginagawa for the last 3 years, medyo malaki yung challenge doon sa governance. So I'm referring to means of implementation, but focus on governance. Nakikita namin na ang ating policy in relation to culture cooperatives and even agriculture and using cooperatives as key instrument is a misplaced policy. No? Tama si Doc Ordonis kanina sa ibang bansa kasi ang ginawa ng mga gobyerno doon, nilalagay nila yung agricultural cooperatives doon sa Ministry of Agriculture. Sa atin, ang nangyari sa atin, parang nandyan lahat yung cooperative development sa isang bureaucracy, in this case the Cooperative Development Authority, but it is mere registration lang ang nangyari at saka more on compliance but not so much on development. But we are talking here with small farmers, small scale farms. The more that priority should be given by government and even allocation of budget. Kung ilagay mo yung agricultural cooperative development doon sa Department of Agriculture, mas mapalakas natin, no? Mas papalakas natin. Although mayroon tayong preferential treatment, pero hindi siya na-implement talaga eh. Pero kung ilagay mo yan sa Department of Agriculture, the same sa Thailand, sa Vietnam, Indonesia, even Japan, no? Korea, ang nag-a-anchor doon sa promotion ng agricultural cooperative doon sa Ministry of Agriculture. So it is a misplaced policy, ang tingin ko. And then plus yung structural barriers. Parang kulang sa boses ang mga small farmers sa mga policy making bodies, lalo na sa mga commodity sectors, no? If you talk about cacao, ang representation wala naman sa small scale farmers. If you talk about coffee sector, wala ka namang representation doon. So there's something wrong with the governance. Baka iyon ang starting point. So sinusulong namin ngayon as part of the Agriculture Cooperative Development Agenda itong creating a kind of bureau in the Department of Agriculture just to promote agricultural cooperatives, but not more on registration or regulation, but more on promotion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Chris. So important still of governance. So Ernie, Sir Ernie, maybe last words. You're still there.
Alam mo, believe kay Dulce, and I answered it in the chat, so I answered it. Ang tanong niya is, I think, most challenging. For me, most important, it is challenging, but it won't affect our lives. I prefer most important. So most important is, sinabi ka na doon, is number 2, is actually empowerment, work, and livelihood. No? Ngayon, and then what should we do? Di ba? Governance. Pero what we can do? Number 1, vote wisely, because we are talking to those candidates, because every year, they don't talk about agriculture. We're forcing them to give a stand. So vote wisely, number 1. And secondly, let us penetrate the legislated bodies that they're not using. It's called the local council. And I'm a member of the National Council. And Secretary Dar and I, we get along well, etc. And I like to say, yes, many good people. 90% are good. 10% are political. Some political are good, some are no good. But those political who are no good cannot be taken out. So we got a problem, right? Okay. So I'm just saying that we got to look at the important one. And if you ask me, who is the one who can help farmers? It's co-ops, right? Of course, the Catholic priests are good also, no? But the co-ops, they really go there. They give money. Now they're getting into, trading and machinery. My God, I wish they would be the Department of Agriculture, the co-op. But we can do that. We can do that. If we can do that, if they get the money and all that, etc. And I would like to let you know this, no? After those candidates, right? Hopefully they'll better in agriculture. My biggest wish is that the co-ops will now enter into the policy implementation of agriculture. Because in other countries, they're the ones who pushed us all the way. In Korea, Simon Undong movement, you know what I mean? We got to get these people, the people of the fish in the river should set it, not the birds in the sky who don't know what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Ernie. Okay, of your closing remarks, and before actually we have a formal closing remark. So thank you again to all the speakers, for giving their inputs, on the very important questions, that our guests have actually put in the chat. So without further ado, let me ask Dean Maria Rosario Mosqueda of the College of Agriculture of Xavier University will give the closing remarks. She is also passionate with research culture at her institution and leading projects and extension activities. She obtained a doctorate degree in biological engineering from the University of Saskatchewan under the Success of Fulbright Philippine Scholarship. and also obtained her master's in agriculture engineering from the University of Georgia. So Dean Mosqueda, your closing remarks, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Randy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Boy Mercado, Ms. Sylvia Paragoya, Mr. Chris Paez, and Dr. Ernie Ordonez, for a very interesting afternoon, for sharing your perspectives, the very inspiring cooperative stories, and how cooperatives can change the narrative of our agriculture sector. We also thank you, our dear viewers, for spending a part of your afternoon engaging with our very experienced resource persons and learning more about the food systems in our country. I especially thank the organizers of this community dialogue for highlighting not only the importance of food systems, but also the role that cooperatives play in making these systems more inclusive. Although there are many success stories that are very encouraging and very inspiring, much needs to be done, as emphasized by our resource persons. In our work with smallholder vegetable farmers in selected highland communities in Bukidnon, for example, less than 20% of the farmers are members of farmer associations or cooperatives. This situation could be mirrored in other similar situated provinces as well. So we must therefore continue to work together wherever we are and contribute what we can as members of the academe, government, industry, and civil society to improve the situation of our smallholder farmers, especially those who are geographically isolated, those that are not always under our radar, so to speak. Hopefully in the near future, we will see more and more inclusive agriculture value chains and more importantly, more food secure farming families in the country. Daghang salamat and maayong hapon sa atong tanan, and according to Dr. Ordonez, vote wisely. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that reminder also, Dean Mosqueda. So again, let's give ourselves a round warm applause. So thanks all again for coming to this webinar. Just to remind everyone, for the participants in this webinar, there is a evaluation form that you have to, if you want to receive a certificate of participation, please submit your answers in the evaluation form. So it's in the screen now, the link, and it will also be put in the chat box. No? So again, thank you very much, and I hope that all of us will still be interested, in this issue of food systems, and also also to be interested in the role of the cooperatives and how it can actually improve food systems in the future. And as Dean Mosqueda said, and also Dr. Ordonez said, let's also push forward our role, and especially in also voting for candidates wisely this coming. So maraming salamat. Maraming salamat.
Salamat.
Thanks, Randy. Salamat,
Thank you,
Randy.
Randy.
Sir Boy.
Yeah, Randy.
Very nice.
Thanks, Randy.
Next
See
Tuesday
you
for
very
the
much.
evaluation.
Mabuhay ang SDSN. Sila
Thank you, Ed Valenzuela. Thank you,
yung
Ed.
co-ops.
Yeah, thank you, Ranboy.
AJ.
See you
Thank
next
you also,
week.
Dean Chari. Thank you, all speakers.
Thank you,
for
Sir
Thank you very
Boy.
much to everybody.
You.
Sige, thank you na.
Kill? You can stop recording na, no? Pwede na.
Yeah, and then also stop also sharing the live stream. Sige, salamat.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, overtime tayo ngayon.
See you next Tuesday.
Maraming
Thank
thank
you.
Bye.
Okay,
thank
bye.
you, Sir
Thank you.
Lee.
Bye.
Sir Boy.
Bye. Bye.
Ayan. So, Kid, salamat. Maraming salamat, Kid. Katonal tayo minsan. Salamat. Okay.
We're still answering the evaluation form, don't we're almost finished with the evaluation form.
Okay, so thank you,
Ayaw pwede
sir.
pa.
Just,
Kasi
yeah.
hindi matapos yung evaluation namin.
Okay, thank you. Salamat.